Sancho to score. No mistakes this time.
That is a rocket.
Royce and another fantastic goal by Marco Royce. Haaland's volley is beautiful beyond compare.
Jetzt kommt das Wunder von Dortmund. Foulspiel von Inzo an Götze.
Needs to lay it off. We're going to shot away. Oh, what a goal!
Welcome back to Dortmund Dispatch. Today I'm joined by Brian and Joey, and we have so much to talk about. Sebastian Kehl out the door. Ale Book is in. And apparently we had a game as well with 5 goals. So
it's a crazy one, hasn't it?
A
5
busy week
goals
for us.
And even
Very.
more XG.
Insane. How's everyone doing?
Doing well. It feels like summer has arrived in North Carolina. It's kind of been
Lucky.
teetering on cold versus hot, and now it's getting hot. And it's nice in some regards, but if it's this hot in March, then I'm kind of afraid of how hot we're going to be in June and July and August. So I'm not quite ready for summertime yet, but happy that we've got the extra hour of daylight in the evening. So that makes a huge difference this time of year. How are you doing?
I'm so excited for this summer. I can't wait to spend a third of my paycheck on my air conditioning bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt.
Yep.
But yeah, let's quickly go through this game. Dortmund fall 2-0 behind, and with the help of 3 penalties, 1 missed, 2 converted by our Algerian heartthrob. Dortmund came away with a 3-2 victory. Is there anything from this game that you're thinking the team is building on for next year? We did see that front 2 of Maxi Bayer and Karim Adeyemi, but it didn't last as long this week. Didn't necessarily find the opening. But what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so in terms of what are we doing to try to build for next year, the couple of things that I really saw is first that Reggiani got another start as our young left back who just signed a new contract. I think it was undisclosed, but and he did struggle at times in this first half that he played, but really important just getting him the minutes and getting him more experience in the first team. Really happy to see Maxi Bayer and Karim Adeyemi start up front again. Felt like Adeyemi could not quite get into this game the way that I think we all believe he is able to. And then we saw this late season familiar midfield of Job, Mecha, double pivot, and then Marcel Sabitzer in there too, which I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But what were your observations, Brian?
I mean, I definitely saw maybe not as much things that we were working on, but definitely things that we need to work on. And I kind of mentioned this a little bit in my video when about Maxi Bayer when I was praising him a little bit. There was also the caveat with his finishing, and I think this game was another kind of example of that, where in the 7th minute he has a chance to basically open the scoring, and it's kind of the same story again. He gets a good opportunity, does everything right, but then at the end, the end product just isn't there. I'm not super concerned about it, once again, because I do think this is a fantastic player. But overall, the team, I believe, had 24 shots. 8 of them were big chances, and 5 of them were missed. So that is pretty intense in terms of the numbers. I think that they could definitely do better there with that many chances, or that many shots, I should say. So I think that's definitely something they need to work on. And then defensively, I think both goals, they were, caught out fairly easily. The first one, Svensson was basically overpowered. And then Reggiani couldn't get to his man in time. Felt like he was lagging a little bit behind. I believe his name is Philip Otel. And yeah, I think he could have done better there. And yeah, I think the second goal was, just kind of like a bad clearance basically, and they took advantage of it. So I felt like they kind of came from 2 kind of stupid chances for Hamburg. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. You can kind of look at this game 2 ways, right? They went behind and they had to struggle to get back into it, or they struggled and got back into it, which is something that we haven't always done in the past. So I guess that's something I hope that they keep working on, keep being able to, even when like they don't play the games well, to be able to like go in and actually still get a proper result. Because I feel like we say this all the time. That's kind of what Bayern does, and if we really want to compete, that's what we have to do too. So, yeah, two ways to look at it.
Maxi Bayer, bad finisher according to Brian, still overperforming his XG by over a goal on the season. But I don't want to talk too much about the goals we conceded because that's what Dud of the Week will be for. But yeah, again, like Sabitzer just not. It's not at a point where it's like, oh, maybe we should sell him this. Like in my opinion, I don't want to see him next year. Like he's been a fantastic player. He's had a fantastic career. I would argue most of the better days not coming in Dortmund. But yeah, that's something that needs to be fixed out. Felix Nemecha, I've talked about it all season. He's way over his career high in minutes, and they kept playing him. Obviously, we're down to 1 game a week, but a rest would have been nice. Instead, they keep playing him, and this is what happens when you get to a point that like you've never gotten to before, and you're playing close to 3,000 minutes. He's never like really been that far over 2,000. Like I think he scraped it in all competitions last year, if you count like the DFB Pokal, Champions League, and League. Like he's a little over 2,000, but like this year he was right around like 2,000 league minutes alone, and like that's just a common sense thing in my opinion. But apparently they just valued beating Hamburg so much that they kept playing him. So that's my one complaint. But yeah, fine. They did what they needed to do. Like they deserve to win. Could have scored a lot more. Bad finishing day for everyone.
Yeah, 100%. Bad day
Yeah.
for finishing for everyone. I will also say that I'm happy that the subs came in as early as they did. I feel that's something that we talked about in the first half of the season.
For sure.
And yeah, they came in and did what they needed to do. So big up Kovac for making those changes when he did.
Yeah, needed to push Nemecha down the penalty taking ladder there.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the Dortmund watch party that I was at, folks were commenting on the fact that whenever somebody steps up to take a penalty, they almost always show like the success rate, the different locations of what was saved versus what was scored, and for Mecha it was nothing. And I was wondering if this was his first Bundesliga goal, and I understand why he stepped up to take it, and why, if it's Schlotterbeck's decision as acting captain, I could very much see why they gave it to Mecha, because he just signed a new contract. Like he wants to make a statement and run to the fans and celebrate. Problem is you got to get it on target though.
It's crazy too, because apparently we have 3 players in our squad that have like 100% accuracy rate. So that's Bensabaini, Chan, and I think Sabitzer as well.
Yeah, and Sabitzer was on the pitch.
Yeah, so it was interesting, but I see what you're saying. That does make sense. He wanted to give him a platform, so.
But it didn't help.
Anyway, let's go into the post-match quote from Niko Kovac. In the first half, we simply weren't playing the way I'd like us to. The way we showed in the second half, and actually I'd like us to play like that from the very first minute without needing a clear halftime talk. I mean, when you're 2-0 down and you end up winning 3-2, we must have done quite a few things right in the end. But of course, I'd like us to show that from the very first minute. That's what I told the lads to do. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
I mean, I think this quote is pretty self-explanatory, and it's kind of in line with much of what we've talked about on this podcast. With, first, the fact that this team is becoming more resilient, has become more resilient under Niko Kovac. This is a game where I feel like in seasons prior, we either would have lost or we might have scraped by with the draw. So I think like, yeah, the fact that we are able to grind out the result. And then, I mean, of course, we want to be the dominant team from the first whistle. We always want to go into halftime with the lead. So in that part of the quote, it's like, yeah, of course we want to look good from the get-go. But what it all really boils down to is the fact that we did get 3 points. It doesn't matter too much in the grand scheme of the league at this point. But just trying to compare this, it was a 1-1 draw in the first half of the season. And I mean, like, Dortmund are out there in these fancy special kits. They gave us an entertaining second half and really delivered when I was starting to think that we were going to add another loss to the league season besides Bayern. So, yeah, I mean, I'm satisfied with quite. I don't think I have too much more to say on it.
I think the second half definitely covers for the first, especially in terms of intensity, because like I think 90% of that second half was played in and around like Hamburg's box. So I mean, maybe not literally, but like a lot of the time was spent in their half. And the pressure and everything, people will say like, oh, you needed the penalties to get it. I mean, the pressure is what created the penalties. So I think either way, there would have been chances to score regardless. So all in all, I'm not going to complain about it.
I think like the first half was much worse, obviously, but like you still have the very big chance from Maxi Bayer that he misses, and you have the penalty, and like I think more often than not, based off the chances, like we're probably up 2-1 going into the half, and that's like with I'll talk about it in Dud of the Week. We're saving it because we have so much other business to talk about, and we're going on to Star of the Week, Brian, because I've been rude to you. You can go first.
You've been rude to me? How so?
I pointed out that you're calling Maxi Bayer a bad finisher, and he's over his XG.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I still think he should be finishing more of his chances because I feel like some of the chances he's had, he's really whiffed them. Like it's becoming a bit of a trend. So it's fine. You have your opinion, I have mine. It's fine. Let's see. Start of the week, I think I'll go with Julian Rierson because I think he was a big part of that intensity in the second half. Basically, he was all over the place. He was putting in chances. I think he had 4 chances that he created specifically. Obviously, very much energetic in the defense as well. But he was putting the ball into like dangerous areas for the majority of that second half, both from corners and everything. So once again, I think it was a very vintage Julian Rierson performance, and I think he deserves his flowers for that. So I'll keep it short and sweet.
I think that's a very fair shout. For my star, I'm gonna go with the pretty obvious choice, I think, and that's Rami Bensebaini. I think he came in for the second half, knew exactly what some of the defensive frailties of the first half had been, was able to step in, play a solid game defensively, even though there wasn't a whole lot of Hamburg attack at that point. But with the story, what my awarding him my star of the week really boils down to is the fact that he converted 2 very cool penalties, especially after we watched Felix Mecha miss one. So Bensebaini, 2 penalties, doesn't quite make up for me giving him the dud after that Atalanta performance, but at least we know that Bensebaini can finish a penalty when Emre Can's not on the field. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people gave him flack after that Atalanta performance, and I think he's probably one of our most improved players since he's joined. So
yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. The way I'm gonna go is a little different, but I am gonna have to go with Maxi Bayer just because like he doesn't get the goal, but one of the things we talked about is like if he's playing striker, is he going to get on the end of more chances? And we've seen over the last 2 matches, very small sample size, neither team is particularly good, to be clear. Not saying he's going to show this over the course of a full season, but 5 shots in this match, just doing all the little poaching things you would want to see, especially the header, gets on the end of the big chance as well. Like, this is just going to prove that, like, so far in the matches where Maxi Bayer has played 9, he's showing that he can just get on the end of all the chances. And that's what we've wanted to see. And if you're talking about selling Serhou Guirassy this summer, these last 2 matches would make that decision a lot easier, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah. You know what? Like, honestly, like, I praise Maxi all the time, and I think he does everything right up until he gets to that point where he's supposed to put the ball in the back of the net. I think that comes with time. I think the more consistency he gets to play, I think the more he'll be able to do that. So I have no reservations about that whatsoever.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And just to add one more thing on Bayer in this match, he did draw 2 of the penalties, so
Yeah, pick up him for that too.
That's helpful. And then, I mean, some of that is just getting into dangerous positions in the box, and defender has a bad kick and takes the player out instead of the ball.
Yeah, and not only did he draw 2 penalties, but we're talking about a performance with 1.14 expected goal contributions. That's expected goals and expected assists. So, like, yes, he doesn't score from his 5 shots, his 0.67 XG, but he also put up 0.47 expected assists by creating a very, very big chance. And had someone else put the ball in the back of the net, all of a sudden, you're looking at a performance where, like, yeah, he couldn't find the back of the net, but he's doing it in other ways. Like, when Goroski puts up that type of performance, it's all in XG. Maxi Bayer is showing that versatility, that pace that exposes the defense and allows him to create a big chance.
I think that's one of the reasons I also like Fabio Silva, is because he also has that about his game. Like, yeah, he's not putting the ball in the back of the net as much, but he's creating, like, he's making good runs, he's linking up well, he's contributing to the game in other ways, which is totally valid for Maxi too. Which is why I think a lot of the flack he gets is overstated. Like, yes, valid criticism. He's not putting the ball in the back of the net as much as we would like him to. But there's other parts of his game that 100% that he's contributing. So, no doubts in my mind there.
Yeah, I want to go dud of the week first. I went last for star of the week, and I have to slander someone right now. It's so obvious. It's so obvious.
I have a feeling.
It's Felix Mecha. It's clear as day. Like, someone was trying to say that Joe Bellingham should just be clearing that ball. Like, have some pride. We are Borussia Dortmund. We are not fans of Hamburg. We are not fans of Kehl. We are not Heidenheim fans. We shouldn't have to watch us under pressure in our defensive third just kick the ball long. Like, we're supposed to be a top team. We play in the Champions League every year. We spend a lot of money, like, the team spends a lot of money to pay the players to be good enough. And Felix Mecha receives the ball under a little bit of pressure, but he's able to take 3 touches. He knows where the defender is, but he has no idea where his teammates are. He has no idea what's going on. He has enough touches to clear the ball. He has enough touches to lay it off to one of his teammates next to him. He has enough time to, like, attempt something. And instead, he has no idea what to do with the ball. And that's just, like, it's bad midfield work. Like, the awareness was not there in that situation. He also misses a penalty. So we're talking about, like, a negative 2-goal swing from there. That's really bad. It's a terrible performance. It's kind of obvious. It's kicking a man while he's down, but, like, it's not my fault he got injured. So I can still say he had a very, very bad week in performance, and it's unfortunate that he then got injured, even if I don't like him for off the pitch reasons. It's no one should be getting severely injured.
Of course, yeah. The one thing that I'll personally push back on with that simply is I'm a firm believer in sometimes you do just have to hoof it out. Like, you don't have to be trying fancy, or try and be fancy and, like, play it out.
But, like,
I think this is one of
space.
I know, but, like, especially considering the way our defense has been, where we've conceded goals like that before, where the clearance has been shit, and we've ended up in a situation where they get the ball and they score. I think sometimes you just have to take the safe routes. That's the one thing I will say. I do think it should have just been cleared. I think you hoofed that out because there was a fair amount of Hamburg players in and around the box. To me, it was just unnecessary pressure. But, you know, at the end of the day, Felix Lemaitre might have, could have, should have, would have done better on a different day, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, when it comes to my dud, I think it's another pretty obvious one. And it hurts me to say it because I'm a big fan of this player, Daniel Svensson. I think it comes down to him being overplayed again. In this case, he was a little bit out-muscled for that first goal, and I do think that he just wasn't aware of his surroundings. And I feel like he just held on to that ball way too long without knowing that there was an attacker behind him about to pressure him. And needs to be better with that because that was very unnecessary. And I think part of it is probably due to fatigue because he plays the majority of the games. Kind of like what you were saying with Nemecha, he's playing a ton of minutes. But part of it, yeah, it just comes down to awareness. Like he just has to be more aware there. I still think he's a fantastic player. But yeah, I think he was squarely at fault for that one. Yeah, he's my dud for that.
I think both of those are fair shouts. And my dud of the week is going to go to Marcel Sabitzer. Um, not for any, like, not for any one play in particular. I have just found his overall performance to be pretty lackluster, and I know some of this comes down to the position he's being played in. I mean, I have always found Sabitzer, if he's part of a double pivot, he, there's something he can do, and when he's part of this three-man midfield, I'm just not quite sure like what the goal is or where his place in this squad is other than like collect the ball and recycle it into possession because we're not really seeing the Marcel Sabitzer that we saw, for example, the first season at Dortmund where he could make some runs into the box or like find a really great cross, kind of like of course Rierson's got that covered these days. But I, I'm just disappointed, I guess, in his overall performance. And I know Eli touched on this a little while ago, but it it's hard for me to imagine that there's going to be a huge role for him to play next season. So I think at this point, I probably would rather see him leave this summer on a modest transfer fee, um, go somewhere mid-tier at one of the big five leagues, and continue to have something of a successful wind down to his playing career. But um, with some of the what it feels like Dortmund is building in the future, and is certainly what we're going to talk about shortly, I'm just not quite sure where Sabitzer's role is, and I just don't think he was doing enough for me in this game to to really deserve that place in the starting 11.
It's interesting because when we were first going to sign Sabitzer, I remember one of the things that kind of like made the signing okay for me, at least at the time, was this was a player that was very good at intercepting the ball and recycling it and putting the ball into dangerous positions. He's done none of that for a very long time now. And I think we saw a little bit of that like in the first season for that half season that he really excelled. But yeah, we just haven't seen any of that since. And it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably a guy that's been negatively affected by that switch away from that like high pressing transition football we were playing previously under like Klopp and Tuchel and so many other coaches, and now under Niko Kovac. Marcel Sabitzer's been asked to play in a different style, and he's done it for Austria, but international football is so different in Austria. Like, they probably play to like the sum of their parts, and like they keep games closer than the sum of their parts against good teams, but I don't necessarily know of any like high profile like tournament wins they have against big teams. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but like I just don't think the system suits him when he's not playing in transition. Because if you look at his career, after he left like Austria Wien, he went to RB Salzburg. He then went to Advertising Leipzig, and that's where he spent like his formative years. And he was essentially just playing in transition for 7, 8 years, and then he went to Bayern Munich, and they had all the ball, and he didn't really play. So again, it's just like a tactical thing. It's almost like the tactics don't suit him. Not that he's crap at the moment. Like, he's still a
Right.
talented footballer. Like, in the right team, he could do things. Like, I think if he went to a mid-table Bundesliga club that plays a little bit more in transition, presses a little bit more, this is a guy that could find himself in space from the edge of the area. He's, over his career, been a plus finisher from outside the box, and I think he could have like a little hot streak at some point. Um, in the future if he chose to stay in the Bundesliga. But I expect him to make a lot of money in the United States in the coming years. I don't know why. It just feels like a good retirement move for him, given some of his former advertising pals.
You think he'll
Wouldn't surprise
join
me.
Forsberg in New York with the Red Bulls?
I don't know their DP situation. MLS salary rules are a little weird, so let's move on to our next topic because it's a very, very big one, and that's Sebastian Kehl leaving reportedly via mutual consent. So my
Sure.
first question: do you think there was a lot of mutuality here? Like,
I think there's a lot of respect that the club has for Sebastian Kehl, a lot of respect that I think I like to believe a lot of fans have for him, not just for his time as a player, but for the fact that he has been part of this Dortmund hierarchy since I'm not even sure, like 2016, 2018. There's even a point at which the club basically made a position for Sebastian Kehl so that he could more or less follow Mikhail Zorc and learn from him to eventually take over. Um, I, personally, when the replacement is lined up and announced 24 hours after the mutual separation, that that leads me to believe that it was perhaps less mutual than they're making it out to be. Um, but I don't think Dortmund was going to make a big deal out of sacking somebody like Sebastian Kehl because he has such a long history with the club. And I don't know, the way these guys move to different clubs and work in their playing career, their post playing career. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kehl back in some capacity in the next 2 decades. Um, but I just think they want to leave everything with him on as best terms as possible. So I think it's kind of the professional move to part mutually. So gotta wish him the best.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have respect for the guy. Like, yes, like maybe his time as sporting director has been, sensational, but we're talking about a player that's won multiple Bundesliga titles with
Hmm.
us as captain. Like, I have a lot of respect for the guy. Like, maybe it didn't work out for him in the sporting directing role, but like at the end of the day, he's contributed a lot, and we have to give him his credit for that. I also don't think all of his transfers were bad. Obviously, he was in some degree involved with the Schlotterbeck deal. Ben Sebaini's looked a lot better since he's as the years have gone by. Like it hasn't been all bad, So, and I know there's been like a lot of like hate online and stuff like that. But I do think the guy deserves our respect as fans. So, big up him. The one thing I guess I would say in terms of like the mutuality of it is that he seems to already have somewhat offers in other places. Like obviously we've heard about Hamburg. Today I read about Tottenham also being interested in him. I don't know how true that is, how not true that is. Would it'd be interesting if that actually was the case for him to go in and be sporting director there. But it seems like it was less of like a sore topic for him considering he had other options maybe. So maybe they just both like thought, you know what, I have offers. This is the right time. If you guys really want to make this change, let's do it. So I think there might have been a mutuality there with that.
I'm shocked that you didn't mention his arguably best transfer because, like with Schlotterbeck, like that's a great transfer, but Kale was taking over like that springtime, but his predecessor was still on. But that next winter, Sebastian Kale signed Julian Ryerson, I believe.
That's true. That's
That was
true.
a good
Yes,
signing.
yes. That was a shrewd one too. Yeah, 100%. Considering he was my star.
Yeah, if you look at his like sub 10 million euro signings, like you have Duranville, hasn't panned out so far, but like he's still so young. Like we'll see how that goes and how that develops, and a lot of the injuries are affecting that. But you look at like Julian Ryerson, great value
Meyer.
for money, incredible value for money. I'm just talking about like the cheap transfers right
Oh,
now.
gotcha,
You
gotcha,
look at
gotcha.
Daniel Svensson, like that's
Svensson is
another cheap
an
one.
expensive.
Yeah. You look at like Nico Schlotterbeck, sub 20 mil, great transfer. Justin Lerma, like how's he gonna pan out? We'll see. Kawa Prates, another exciting one, sub 10 million. Like these are all like interesting moves that make a lot of sense. And we'll see how some of them pan out because three of the guys I mentioned are like teenagers. But I think there's some good stuff to be said there. Like it's more the bigger transfers and like there's been a lot of stuff rumored to be going around with some of those where like was Sabitzer a guy Kehl wanted or was that a guy Terzic wanted? Wasn't that the guy Terzic wanted? That was the rumor. But was Kehl like against that or was that like a name he offered? Like these are the things we don't know about, and Kehl clearly has some respect in the game.
And I think
There's a
that's what he
lot.
gets pinned. Oh, sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
I was just say there's a lot behind the scenes I think that we don't entirely know about, and even some of the like these last minute transfers that we had a couple seasons with like Anthony Modesta and Niklas Fulkrug coming in for single seasons, sort of filling the gap. And I think maybe some of Kill's criticism has come from, at least from what I've read, in that he's perhaps hesitated a little bit too long in some of the decision making, which doesn't always pan out if you're trying to plan a squad. Because in theory, we'd like to have the squad planning pretty much figured out by whenever the big training camp in Marabella is every summer, so that those players are with the squad. And what we have seen is that a few transfers come in like after the first match day in the Bundesliga, and I think we've also seen, and I don't know, again, they're just speculating how much it affects things like this, but like the last few seasons, the last season of especially, but this season too, Dortmund play much better in the second half of their season. And like there's just it seems like there's a bit more discipline. There's a bit more of a stable structure. And yeah, again, I don't know how much that contributes, but there is a lot behind the scenes, and who wants which player. And I mean, we've discussed the whole Ryan Cherky um, saga, and who's at fault at that? I mean, yeah, Tester I like to blame, but um, we were talking about trying to sign this player like three consecutive transfer windows, and it never happened. And yeah, again, like I said, there's just a lot that we don't know that is happening behind the scenes. But I think that the departure, perhaps with a few of the recent announcements, like Mecha's new contract, the confirmation of departures of Brandt, Sula, Ozchan, new contract for Reggiani. It seems like the board, the Dortmund, is making moves, and it's like all the pieces are starting to come into place of the vision that they have for Dortmund's future. And the one piece, at least right now, that feels like it's missing from this game plan, linking everything together, is that Schlotterbeck extension. And I think Brian was mentioning something like this in our chat earlier today. But all the signs right now are kind of pointing toward an extension for Schlotterbeck, just because of the way that it seems like for the first time in a while, maybe there is some direction that this club has with what they want to build this summer. And I've felt for the last several seasons like I just haven't quite been sure what that is, and haven't been 100% sure that they knew what that was, or like waiting to test out the market and see who's available, or um, talking to agents and which agents work with which players who might be becoming available, and less of our own, just our own scouts. And I don't know. I mean, I've complained on this podcast a few times about feeling like Dortmund has had a lack of identity lately, and I'm beginning to think that they're at least trying to reclaim that with some of these moves. But again, if we get Schlotterbeck on an extension, then that's just going to give me confidence with this whole process, I think. Then I'll trust the
Yeah,
process.
and Sebastian Kehl said about his departure, Borussia Dortmund has accompanied me for half my life, and I have an extreme connection to this great club. Nevertheless, we have developed the feeling that it is time to break new ground, both for BVB and me. Lars, Karsten, and I came to this conclusion today in a constructive conversation. I owe a lot to Borussia Dortmund, and I am proud to have been part of the BVB family for 24 years. During this time, I've been able to celebrate so many incredible successes with the club, its employees, its fantastic fans, and it will make me forever proud to be a part of this club's history. The field here is ordered. I wish the club only the very best in its realignment and continued the greatest possible success. Borussia Dortmund, the incredible stadium, and the South Grandstand will always have a fixed place in my heart. It was an honor. And so let's introduce another quote because my lungs are just that good. And we have Ole Book coming in with his first quote saying, Borussia Dortmund is one of the biggest clubs in Europe, and I am very much looking forward to giving my all to the club. I want to play my part in steering BVB towards a successful future, and I'm delighted to be able to contribute my ideas and convictions and to work alongside a strong team. Borussia Dortmund is a special club for me, one with which I have had an emotional connection since childhood. It is not only for this reason that I would like to thank SV Elversberg and above all Dominic Holzer for enabling me to start my work in Dortmund straight away.
I mean, it's a good sign, right? The guy's excited. He identifies with the club. Everything that I've personally heard so far, because I would be, remiss to say that I'd heard of this guy prior, but everything that I've read up today about him has me, quite convinced that this could be a quite good fit. He's very much focused on youth players, bringing young talents that he can build up. He's been apparently lauded for his ability to find these players. And most importantly, he doesn't just look in England. So there's that, right? There's that to look forward to. We won't be just bargain shopping in the academies of the Arsenals and the Manchester Cities of the world, or the Chelseas for that matter. So everything, looks good in that sense. A lot of his success with Elversberg also came as like a coach too. I think in those first two promotions, he was actually their head coach, if I'm not mistaken. And then that's what got him the promotion to sporting director eventually. But yeah, he also focuses apparently on very forward and attacking football. So, overall, it's kind of like what you were saying, Joey. It seems like they're trying to bring back that old Dortmund identity by bringing someone in who kind of has those qualities in mind in the way that he wants the club to play. So it does seem like they are trying to change direction into a more forward-thinking, more youthful and vibrant way. And I really wish him all the success possible because, if he succeeds, we succeed. So, I'm really excited to see what he does.
For sure. I'm kind of excited about this signing too. For being someone who a few days ago had not really heard of or was familiar with. Besides having a really cool name, Nils Ole Book. That's just awesome. He seems like he was able at Elversberg to do a lot with a pretty tight budget. It seems like my perspective of Elversberg is that they're very much in kind of an amateur type of team. And I don't say that with meaning any disrespect. I say that more in terms of their infrastructure. I think their stadium can hold maybe 10,000 people. It's pretty small. But they were playing in I think fourth tier German football 4 years ago. And that's a pretty quick rise to go from fourth tier amateur regional leagues to almost top of the second tier of the Bundesliga, or the second Bundesliga, Zweitliga. I believe they're in second place right now, and they're very much in the race for a place in the Bundesliga. This is a team that was pretty close to reaching promotion last season, and it's very likely. It's hard to speculate. The second tier is always so competitive, but there's a reasonable chance that this is a team that we're going to see next year in the Bundesliga. a very small team that would have made it there in a very short amount of time. So if a guy like Book can essentially make the most out of a very small budget, then given the resources that Dortmund has, which it's a much larger scale. Dortmund has a lot more money, a much richer club than a club like Elversberg, much larger stadium, a lot more infrastructure, a lot more resources. But when we're trying to compete on like an international level, for example, we still can't compete with the funds of Premier League teams. You know, so the idea that maybe Book can come in and figure out a way that we can compete with those Premier League teams, that we can compete at the highest level of Champions League. I don't know. It's a bit of a gamble, but I think an educated gamble because the guy is I think he's just 40 years old. He's never worked at a club this big before, but he, you never know when you might find that diamond in the rough, so to speak. And a coach like Jurgen Klopp, he was just managing it at Mainz, like lowly Mainz, who always seemed to just hang out right above the relegation zone. So I don't know. This guy seems like he's got a lot of promise, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in the stands with Ricken and Kramer and I don't know, Vatska's there half the time too. But yeah, everything like Brian that I have read so far has been pretty promising about this guy.
I just want to correct myself quickly. I said he was a coach. He was actually just a scout.
Yes.
I'd seen some conflicting information there, but that's what happens when you're on Twitter, I guess. But yes, he had success as a scout, and then he was promoted to sporting director. But 100% Joey, I definitely agree with you. I was actually on the whole Jurgen Klopp example was on the tip of my tongue. I think a lot of the success that Dortmund have built has been on gambles like that, and I think that this could possibly be a good one too. So fully agree with you there.
Yeah, so my opinion of this is he clearly has a very, very good understanding of the identification of talents, especially in the German academy system. So, like, I think Brian already talked about this a little bit, but he loaned Fisnik Aslani, he loaned Paul Vonner, he loaned Nick Voltemata. There was the player who scored against us for Frankfurt who had about like 10 goals and 13 appearances, something like that. In the first half of the season, Frankfurt recalled him. He promptly scored against us and got injured. So like he has this incredible knowledge of these academy players. You've seen some of these guys move for very little money in recent years that Dortmund could have had a chance at, whether it's like Florian Wirtz moving from Köln to Leverkusen at 16, or this summer, I watched one game of Said El-Mal at the U17 World Cup, and I was like, I feel like this guy should be signed immediately, and we should give him whatever he wants. And they were like, what if we just signed you and put you in the third tier? Huh? Excuse me? Third tier Said El-Mal? So Kehl, a little miss there on the sales pitch. My concern for Ali Book, it's kind of twofold. So how's he going to deal with these guys that have a playing career and have been at Dortmund so much longer? They hold so much more institutional sway. Like if he's going to a Karsten Kramer, if he's going to Hans-Joachim Watzke, if he's going to Lars Ricken, like, are they going to trust his opinion as a talent evaluator enough? Is he going to have the political tact to get his opinion across? And like part of that isn't even down to him, it's down to like the internal backroom politics of Borussia Dortmund. Like this is not a guy that's going to be expensive to sack. I can confidently tell you that. And so if he's rubbing people the wrong way, is he ever going to be given a chance? And then the second one, this is my biggest concern, is when you're Elversberg and you have this tiny budget, it's a lot harder, obviously, to compete. Like, the number one correlation for where you finish in the table is going to be your salary budget. But When you're in the second tier, you know how many players are good enough to play in the second tier of German football? Thousands. There are so many options. That makes it easier to negotiate. It makes it easier to find an edge because like your misses like it's just harder to miss in certain ways because like there's only so many players that you can sign at Borussia Dortmund for 20 plus million euros that are going to be UCL knockout level starters. Like the amount of UCL knockout level starters there's 16 teams, so 16 times 11. That's like the type of player Borussia Dortmund wants to be able to start. And so like we talked about Sebastian Kehl, like yeah, he hit on Daniel Svensson, he hit on Julian Ryerson for sub 10 million, but like you look at Carney Chukwuemeka, you look at Fabio Silva, like these guys aren't bad players, but at 25 million, maybe you want a player who's capable of starting a bit more. You look at some of these other guys, and it's like, okay, how is Ollie Book going to do taking the step from where like he has hundreds of options to how's he going to like sort through the scouting profiles, figure out which players are going to be ready to start for Borussia Dortmund, and correctly allocate money in the biggest of his signings. And like that's really what will make the difference for Borussia Dortmund because like you can find these bargains, but you look at Leverkusen, like they win the league, they go out and they sign these guys with all the money they've made and all the money they're going to make from the Champions League, and a lot of them like were peak age players coming in on decent wages. They signed like a winger from France who'd been very good there, and it didn't work out for him in Leverkusen. He's still there. They signed like Jonas Hoffman and like they won the league. That's great. Like how's that contract aging? Not incredibly well. And then they signed all these players this year for like 35 million euros, and like Ben Seguir and Malik Tillman haven't been on the pitch regularly. Maza's great, but he's like a great 19-year-old, and great 19-year-olds sometimes find it a little difficult to perform at the Bundesliga level every single week. And so that's where you're seeing some of these inconsistencies. And you're seeing like an Ale Garcia, who's like a very good player, but this guy came in for a very big fee for a Leverkusen, and like he's been good, but he's not necessarily like raised the level. They haven't really replaced Granit Xhaka. And so I'm just saying like the way your big transfers work out has such a big effect. Like it's a lot easier to hit on these like little cheap freebie guys, but like that's not the most sustainable approach for a club like Borussia Dortmund. Like you want to be hitting on those guys, but you also need to be maintaining your 20 to 30 million euro signings and hitting on those. Like those are almost more important, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think those are, I mean, well, they're very reasonable concerns with bringing in somebody like Book. One other thing, because we just because we haven't mentioned this yet, and I think it's important given the context of Dortmund and some of the nepotism that we've seen in hiring over the last few years. I mean, as much as I do like Sebastian Kehl and Lars Ricken, they are both, well, Kehl's not there anymore, but both there largely in part to their history with the club. Just like, similar reasons of Nuri Sahin being hired. And Niko Kovac was certainly not a nepotism hire when they brought him in as a replacement. Of course, there weren't necessarily a ton of good options at the time. So the pool was limited. But in the case of Book, it feels like this is very deliberate. Like this is a very deliberate choice, and this is someone who, like I mean, they kind of kept this on lock and key, and I don't know if there were any rumors around this guy potentially leaving. I mean, it seems like whatever contact was made happened behind the scenes, and he's been identified as a potential talent. Um, for his actual abilities and not for the combination of quote unquote ability and history with the club. Um, because I do have some concerns about like how Book is going to get along with the others in the hierarchy at a club like Elversberg. Book probably had a lot of like it was probably he probably had the final say in transfers. So how is he going to work with Lars Ricken and Karsten Kramer um, and Matthias Sammer to figure out the best course of action and who gets priority in squad building, Niko Kovac, and I think that's all. I think those are all reasonable things to question and reasonable concerns to have that we're just going to have to wait and see. But I do think that there's, yeah, I mean, it's upsides and downsides. It's a bit of a gamble to begin with, but I think there's still some good reasons to be excited.
Yeah, there's a ton of upside there, and this is like he didn't start having all the say at Elversberg. Like he had to work his way up. Like
Yeah.
he started as the sporting director in 2018, and he didn't get promoted to sporting CEO until 2023. And like maybe that was just to in name only, and they were just trying to like bump his pay up, and he'd earned that extra like step. Um, or like maybe he was still just reporting to like the chairman of the board all that time. But either way, like he started as a scout, he worked his way up. Like this is a guy who like his he played his football at Duisburg, Rotweiss Allen, and Wehen Wiesbaden. Like the total transfer fees in his career is 290K, and he moved like 3-4 times, including some loans there. So like there's a lot of upside there. Like I'm saying, like these are the concerns, not that he can't do them or he's ever shown an inability to do them, but these are things he has not disproven. Like we don't know either way. Like this guy could be the best sporting director ever. We have no idea.
Hopefully he
But
is.
he's never, and I that's the outcome I'm most rooting for. And he's shown a lot of potential, but he just hasn't. He's never had the opportunity to even show that he can sign Champions League level starters at a Champions League rate, if that makes sense.
And I think what you mentioned, Eli, is important. He's taken the proper path to get there. He's worked to get to where he is. It wasn't just kind of like what we've seen, like just based on connection with the club. Joey, you mentioned that a little bit too. So I think that's what gives me the most confidence is it's deliberate and it's not simply based on connection to the club. So I'm happy with it.
Same.
I have a joke, but I really should keep it to myself. I'll tell you guys after this show. But sorry to do that to all our fans, but we have the next topic. Who do we expect to replace Felix Nemecha in the starting 11 as he is sidelined for several weeks due to injury? And we all know I've had a little thing the last couple weeks talking about a particular player. I'll leave it to you guys to mention him, but
And it's Carney. It's the only natural answer, in my opinion.
the Carney agenda, baby.
I would prefer that, but what I'm afraid we'll see is Sabitzer in the double pivot with Job, and then we'll get Brandt back up in the 10. That's what I think we'll see. But I
That's
would like
also
to see
feasible.
I'd like to see more minutes for Carney though.
I will say at this point, and like obviously like depending on what matters right now in terms of like where we finish, if that's something that matters, we're set for Champions League. Like there's no way we could physically not have Champions League next season. So I think this is actually both the perfect time for like Ole Book to come in, but it's also the perfect time to see some experimentation and give players minutes that haven't necessarily had minutes prior. So putting Carney in for a longer period of time or an extended run, if there was ever a time to do it, I think it's now. I also don't think that Brandt should be getting priority in terms of minutes at this point anyway, because he's gone at the end of the season. So, like we're this is kind of like of the scenarios that we could have had with regards to this positioning that we're in, I think this is actually a pretty good position for and time for experimentation. And I think that's also why they chose this time period to make the changes that they're making. So I think that should extend to the starting 11, that we should see more of Carney on the pitch, more of players like Inacio, Reggiani, giving them minutes to get them acclimated, and this is the time to do that. So I would be really upset to see Sabitzer get the, extent of those minutes, and then see, not that I have anything against Brandt. Obviously, I think he should still play, but I don't think, that definitely wouldn't be ideal, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you'll probably see a
fair,
first choice 11 for the next 3 matches, because we have Stuttgart, Leverkusen, and Hoffenheim, who are all top 4 contenders.
Right.
Like, granted, we're 8 points clear of third, which I believe is Stuttgart. Yeah, I was correct. We're 8 points clear of third with 7 to play. We're basically a lock.
And they all have to play each other still, so, or most of them have to play each other, or something like that.
I mean, we're also playing them. So
no, I know, but even if there's results in those games that don't necessarily go our way, there's that buffer of they'll take points off each other, hopefully.
Yeah. And the Leverkusen match is home, the other 2 are away, but how much of a difficult away match is Hoffenheim truly?
I don't know, actually. They were a big bogey team for a while.
Depends on if Kramaric is playing.
It's difficult in that Hoffenheim is talented. I was just making a knock on their fans or lack thereof. But
I'm still scarred by that it was a 4-1 loss, I think, at the end of Peter
4-0.
4-0. 4-1 or 4-0. The coach before Bosch.
Peter Stoger?
Stoger, yes, Peter Stoger. The time of the 2 Peters, yes.
Stoger
that was
came after Bosch.
What a time! What a time!
Oh, what a season!
Oh no, it was yes. He was after Bosch because he came in. Yes, you're right. Yes, that season, that last game, I believe, was a 4-0 loss to Hoffenheim away from home.
Yeah, how disheartening.
Away from home. Yeah, I still remember.
Anyway.
Moving on.
We wanted to let you guys know that the international break will be a transfer rumor roundup, and we're going to be talking about how likely all these transfer rumors are, and we're going to try and use the lens of our new sporting director and go through his eyes to see what type of players he's historically been into, and if the players we've been linked with kind of fit that. But our next story is Emre Can signs a new 1-year contract.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Unsurprising. Yes, we can.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, he's our captain. You can't drop him on, in the middle of rehabbing an ACL tear. So it's very unsurprising.
No, of course. Yeah, I think that'd be heartless.
Well, we'll see what happens next season.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in January. He could come in, play a couple games, and end up moving on very quickly. It's the right thing to do, and I would like to be a fan of a club that does the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Even if we extend certain other players who maybe, I don't know. Anyway. Is there anything else you guys want to discuss, or should we give some shout-outs to some of our fans?
Maybe a few shout-outs.
Solid.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so in the top 5 this week, you do not have me, I will say that. I finished 9th, though. I'm back in my top 10 grind. I beat my friend, too. That's great. The top 5, though, it's Dodcom in 5th, Zhao FC in 4th, Larry Buys a Lighter in 3rd, Notorious in 2nd, and Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious in the top spot. As per usual, this guy is dominating this year. Let's see, how far clear is he? He's about 1,700 points clear. That is talent right there. I wonder how high he is in the actual Bundesliga fantasy, not just the Dortmund Dispatch. But anyway,
big up him or them.
we have been posting so many shorts, high editing, like, shorts, not just, like, us reacting to stuff. We're giving you edits. We're giving you everything you want. So please check those out on YouTube Studio, Instagram Reels, TikTok, wherever you watch content. Should have another one dropping probably tomorrow, I think. So we really appreciate that. And are there any other socials that you guys want to plug?
Covered right now. I mean, working on a couple things for GGFN on the low, but when they come out, I'll be sure to announce them.
Well, thank you so much
yeah.
for joining me. Oh, sorry. Did you have something?
Nah, I'm good.
We're just drawing out the outro. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me, and have a good one.
Jadon Sancho to score. No mistakes this time.
That is a rocket.
Royce out. Another fantastic goal by Marco Royce. Haaland's volley is beautiful beyond
Jetzt
compare.
kommt das Wunder von Dortmund. Foulspiel von Inzo an Götze.
Needs to lay it off. We're going to shot away. Oh, what a goal!